Welcome back, Statliners, to another episode of Bats and Stats presented by ScoutTheStatline.com. I, myself, is Brian, as always, my pal here, Ross Jensen, and we're going to jump into some stuff. But before we jump into some stuff, we got to do the thing that we do all the time. And I think I might have done this beer once. I can't remember. This is one of my favorite beers, and it's a regular drinker. I just can't remember if I did it once. It's by Droughtworks, and it's up in Missoula, Montana, and it's called Myruka. But there's another one that I drink all the time too, and I think that's the one that I highlighted last time. So this is Myruka. It's an American pale ale. No verbiage on this one. It's just really one of my favorite beers. You can buy this. Around here you can buy it at Walmart. So it's a really good beer. I do have a cup too. Laurel Locomotives football team 2023. We went to a charity event the other night and got cups.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, this is a good beer.
It's got a nice golden hue.
Yeah. Myruka. MY and then RUCA.
I don't think you've done that one before. That looked like a new can to me.
Yeah, that's easily one of my favorite beers. It does have the hoppy flavors and stuff in there, but it's not hugely overpowering like some can be. Yeah, that's just a delicious beer. Droughtworks, Missoula, Montana, Myruka.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, I also have a beer for this episode, which is our 12th episode of the year, by the way. 12. We've gotten a dozen of these down. Season's coming to an end. We might be able to crank out a couple more at least a couple more, and then it's ranking season, right? Back into it.
Yeah.
Okay, my beer. This is a very popular beer. This is Sierra Nevada. Everybody knows Sierra Nevada, so we don't need to dwell on that brewery very much. But this beer is called Flipside, which I was not familiar with this beer before I got this. So it's something a little bit different. It's a red IPA. It's 6.2 ABV. And here is its description. Flipside is a bold yet balanced red IPA with enough malt depth to support huge citrusy and tropical flavors from Simcoe, Citra, and Centennial hops. So they're using 3 different types of hops in this red IPA. I think Simcoe is my favorite type of hop for an IPA. They do have some Simcoe in there, so
I've never really jumped into the names of it. I just like beer.
just like the beer. Okay.
That's an interesting. I've never heard of Flipside, and I drink a lot of Sierra Nevada.
So that's a darker.
That's why I've never drank it.
It doesn't look so. It looks darker on the screen. I can tell.
Is it?
It does to me on this side. It might be because of the lighting. It's kind of got a little bit more of an amberish.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that coming through now. The glass is cold, so that's part of it. But let's give it a shot.
They usually don't disappoint. I like Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, one thing that they do really well, and that's characteristic of this beer as well, is it's very balanced. It's definitely a red IPA. It's not overwhelming in any sort of regard. It's a good drinker. Thumbs up.
Perfect.
I don't think I've ever given a thumbs down on the beer of the pod. I'm just happy to have a beer.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever had a bad beer. I mean, like hams.
I've had a bad beer.
Hams and Schlitz.
College beers. But I mean, you ever had one that like you're just like, I don't think I'm going to finish that. I had one.
I had a jalapeno beer in Bozeman, and I like jalapeno. I like the flavor of it and everything like that. So I thought I was really going to enjoy it. It was one of the worst flavors I've ever had in my entire life. I didn't finish it.
I may have had that same beer. I don't know, but I know I've had jalapeno infused beers. My take is usually I like them, but it's hard to drink an entire pint of them. When you get into the end, it's like, all right, I'm ready for something different. I had this beer called, I think it was Chronic IPA or something like that.
Just
And
yeah,
that
right there.
that would have been a thumbs down. Because that was like a 6-pack I could not finish. It was like you were chewing on a bud. Very, very dank, very dank flavor. So the name was very appropriate, but yeah, it was not for me.
I I can't imagine anybody likes that flavor, but I mean, different strokes for different folks. It is what it is. Yeah, good beers tonight. Good beers, and it's going to be followed by a good podcast. We got some interesting stuff tonight. Some stuff that I think a lot of people aren't going to know. Um, some names I know that a lot of people aren't going to know. This is not going to be, a bunch of guys that are in top 100s. This is going to be a fun one, especially the spotlight. We're going to do 4 spotlights tonight, and then 2, we're going to call them DSL darlings. So obviously the DSL season is already over, but just a couple of guys that pretty damn hot all the way through the DSL season. So we're going to talk about 2 of them. But before we get into all that stuff, Ross does have a update on the website.
Yeah, so we had one of the biggest changes in the website since we launched. I mean, everything is a big change, right? But we upgraded our data model, the thing that underpins our peak projections. We talked about that, I think, on the last podcast, but we successfully did it. There were some bumps in the road. There almost always is. Like, you think you've got this ready to go, and then you do it and you kind of encounter some unforeseen issues. So I think I broke like every single leaderboard on our website at one point or another, but they all got fixed. So everything is running. We got better data now. And by that, I mean, the data is pretty much the same, but we've got better calculations on it. I think we added the single biggest shift was that we added major league probability as part of the equation to build these peak projections. So the impact of that is you have a little more age to level factoring, because that probability is going to say if this player reaches this level by this age, they are X% more likely to reach the major leagues. So we've just kind of weaved that in there, the fabric throughout. Eventually, we're going to do the same thing with pitching, because we just integrated this with hitting to start. We do have it ready to go for pitching. I might wait until the end of the season, just a slightly lower priority, but I will make sure that by next season, pitching is getting all the same treatment that hitting is. So it's going to be ramped up and ready to go. So here's some things that have come along with that change. Just today, I eliminated the plate appearance threshold that's required for a player to be eligible for a rank. So you were talking about that earlier. Somebody just appeared on it. Well, now there's a bunch of guys that are going to appear on it because we no longer have a minimum threshold, which means you can be on the list after 5 plate appearances. We're probably not going to rank very high until we get at least a little bit of a sample in there, because we do have regression built in that's keeping those guys in check. So that's a big change. Now you're going to see those guys earlier, which I think is good. You can still check ineligible. There's still that filter, but right now, as it is right now for hitters, the only bats that are ineligible are DSL. They're just on a different plane for us.
Cool.
So yeah, big news. So now everybody's in there. There's another change that I made to the peak projection leaderboards today. I added in fully regressed leaderboards. So we have what we do is the rank has always been based on regressed results, but we've always displayed raw peak projections. And the reason for that is just because I find it a little more exciting and a little more differentiating to pick out those differences. Other people have different opinions about what is better, but the more regression you apply, the more it pulls everything towards the mean. So I like to try to break away from that just for analysis purposes. But we do think it's important to have those out there. especially for comparative purposes, if we're going to be referencing like who's the leader in home runs, we better be picking it off of that regressed board, because small sample people are going to benefit on the other leaderboard, especially since we've abolished the plate appearance threshold now. So those are the big changes. I don't want to belabor it because that's kind of dull stuff, and that's not what we're here for. We're here to entertain and inform.
Entertainment, baby.
That's right.
Entertainment. Cool. I do want to do a little bit of a highlight. The new hat. I got a new hat, and this hat is from the Billings Mustangs, the Pioneer League team in Billings, Montana. So went to a game the other day. I got a hat. My boy got a hat, and we had a grand old time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thought I'd showcase that for just a second.
Former affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds, no longer affiliated, unfortunately, but
somehow they are.
They have some partnerships,
Yeah, I really don't understand where the players come from, or like how they're affiliated and stuff like that. But they are still a part of the Reds, just not to the degree that they were. It's something that I've tried to research, and I just can't figure it out. It's just not a whole lot of information on it. But yeah. Anyways, I do want to give another little update. We have been mentioning our hometown league, and a few players that have been on our teams, and we got into the playoff run. I won my first matchup. I believe I mentioned that, but we're in matchup number 2 right now. Ross had a bye in the first matchup, and he's just crushing it right now, rushing his competitor in the second round. Unfortunately, we're going to be ending on Sunday. Your boy B Shanks here, he's just going to fall short this year. He's not going to make it. Cup of coffee is going down.
Well, you are also playing a very talented team.
Behemoth.
Yeah. I mean, they could knock me off. I wouldn't be terribly surprised. I'm going to obviously fight like hell, but that's a talented team.
Yeah. He's got the likes of Aaron Judge and Shohei on his team, basically carry him.
Oh, and he's got Freddie Freeman now, Trey Turner. He's got all those guys. Really good pitching too.
Yeah, it's a tough one to swallow. I just wanted to bring it up real quick, but I'm sure you guys don't want to hear about my woe is me.
Your team is super young, though, super young, and they'll be back.
No doubt. Yeah. We're not going anywhere. Cup of coffee's here to stay, baby. But let's jump into our first segment here. And we're going to call this the DSL Darlings. So these are just a couple of guys that I wanted to highlight real quick that mashed. They mashed in the DSL, and that's what you want to see. We've said it time and time again. Don't trust DSL stats at all, right? But if you are going to put them in the back of your mind, they better be astronomical. They better be insane. They better be crazy. Everything's got to line up. And here's just a couple of guys. You know what I mean? Do you have anything else to add on the DSL guys?
Well, I would just say this. I mean, every year I kind of did on my own, just this little segment, not a podcast, just an article when I was just writing articles. I always did a hashtag DSL Darlings. So that's where this is coming from. We actually had an article written on Scout the Statline done by Joe, and really good article. I would recommend everybody go check it out. It was published on the 11th, so a few weeks ago now, but he covers some of these guys that we're going to be talking about and then some. So, and one other thing that I would add to this, Brian, I think you already covered it when you said that these are stats that we don't trust quite as much. Yeah. So what we're saying right now is just these are guys to keep an eye on, see what it looks like when they come over stateside. That's when you want to pounce on these guys if they're replicating those results against, I guess, the more advanced arms in the U.S., then those are the guys that you want to start picking up on. And you already got a preview, so they're on your radar. So they should be early pickups if they're doing it right.
Well, these are two guys to keep an eye on to see even if they come over stateside next year. You know, they might be in the DSL again. I don't know that.
No,
But you know, these are well, okay. Well, I would hope so. I would hope so.
yeah.
Especially these two. But yeah, the first 100 at bats are going to be really important in pouncing on these guys. I would keep an eye on the first 100 at bats stateside, so you can go get these guys. And obviously, if it's not translating, don't add them. But just a couple of guys. First one I want to talk about. First guy. Oh, go ahead. Do you have something?
Well, I was just gonna say one more thing. Josue DePaula. This was a guy we talked about last
Yeah.
year, and this is a really good example. And I'm not saying like he's somebody you move off of or anything like that, but do you remember the hype train that was
Mhm.
moving on him? So that has died down significantly. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
and you remember in those off-season talks, I think we even got kind of a hard time because we weren't fully on board.
Yeah.
We were saying, hey, just it's DSL. The numbers look great, but it's DSL. Like we just don't know how that's going to translate yet. So that's just to reinforce the point that I was getting at is that these are just guys that you want to have on your radar right now.
Yeah.
Not much beyond that. Unless you got all sorts of excess roster spots and you can speculate, then it's okay. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
So to add to that point, I used to have bookmarks on a lot of guys in the DSL. I would bookmark them and then just be able to click on my bookmarks and be able to check these guys out, how they're doing throughout the season. I do not recommend that at all because it is depressing to bookmark players and then look at what they're doing through it. 25 at bats here, 25 at bats there. Don't do it. It'll hurt your feelings really, really, really quick. So
Eric Pena. Oh man.
yeah,
I got a notification that he hit a bomb and I was like, oh man, maybe Eric Pena is doing pretty good. I looked up his stats and I was like, ooh, he has still not figured it out.
yeah. I recommend keeping a very, very thin leash on the majority of players. You don't want to be checking all these guys out all the time because let us do that. I still do it. Let us do that, and it will let you guys know how it's going.
Save your
Um,
sanity.
yes, save it for another day. First guy. Let's jump into the first guy here. He's 17 years old. He was born in the Dominican Republic. His name is Rainer Arias. Rainer Arias only had 58 at bats this year, but in 58 at bats, he had 24 hits for an average of 414, on base percentage of 539, OPS of 1332. That's 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases. Like, this is what you want to see out of DSL numbers. This is insane video game numbers. And his walk to strikeout range was great too. Like there's nothing to dislike about this. So this is a solid, like eye popping. Let's take a look further of what he's going to do stateside.
Yep.
With he's with the San Francisco Giants. I apologize.
Two red flags in his profile. One is the DSL, which we're going to say about all the DSL guys.
Yep.
And the second one is just that it's a small sample size, but it's an incredible sample. There's no doubt about it. Like checking all the boxes, hitting for average, hitting for power, getting on base, walking more than he struck out, 15 walks to 11 strikeouts. Really good numbers across the board. So 793 slugging percentage. You mentioned the OPS. That slugging percentage by itself stands out too. All these numbers stand out. So, and he's a young 17 too.
Yeah.
So really good, really interesting profile. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on for next year.
Absolutely. Love it. Next guy we got is going to be another 17-year-old. He is going to be with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's an outfielder. He's 6 foot, 175 pounds. It's Eduardo Quintero. And Eduardo Quintero's season looked like this: 170 at bats, 359 average, 472 on base percentage, OPS 1.090, 5 home runs, and 22 stolen bases. He only got caught stealing 4 times. His strikeout to walk percentage, or strikeouts to walk, was 34 strikes, 32 walks. I mean, 7 triples, 15 doubles. In 170 at bats, he showed out.
Yeah.
17 years old, he showed out. Destroyed the DSL.
It's an interesting one because it doesn't seem like he's getting the same hype as DePaulo was getting last year.
Yeah.
But the numbers compare very favorably, I think. They're very similar. I don't know. I shouldn't say favorable, but they're similar. They're very similar across the board. Really eye-popping, hitting. This sounds just like Rainer Arias, a little bit bigger sample size.
Yep.
And he's about maybe about 150 days older, something like that, in that range, 200 days older. Yeah, great numbers across the board. The slash line is awesome. Great OPS, obviously, that comes along with that. A lot of speed, 22 stolen bases and just 212 plate appearances. That's, about 60 per 600 plate appearances. That's a lot. It's a lot of stolen bases. Plays center field. Yeah, he's an interesting one. Looks like another talent that you want to keep your eye on. If hype can follow DePaula like it did, there's no reason that it shouldn't be following this guy at the same pace, in my opinion, just based on the numbers.
Yeah. Once again, Eduardo Quintero. The big thing that I want to hammer home on this is he's with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it seems like they're really, really good at developing talent. Just a little bit of a magic touch. I would favor that maybe than some other ball clubs. And that's why I wanted to highlight him.
DSL Darlings.
DSL Darlings, baby.
It's a great topic. We got to visit it every year. Anyway, if you visit the website and check out that article that I was talking about, written by Joe Simon Rasmussen, there is 8 other guys on there that you want to check out, or 6 other guys. Sorry, I misread that. Including some guys that I'm very interested in. One of them is Welbin Francisca. He was a guy that I was talking about a little bit this year as he was showing out, as you like to put it. So interesting player. There's a few more in there. Go check it out because you're going to find some good nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. The writers at STS are top-notch fellas. I'm not going to lie to you. They are top-notch. I'd put them into a bar fight with any other web page out there.
Yeah, I don't know about a bar fight, but into a pencil, I don't know, a writing competition.
I'm saying a bar fight.
Well, we do got Ryan. He's pretty goofy. I'd take a bar fight.
Yeah, you got me. I'm a little on edge. It's okay.
You're like the wild card.
All right, we're gonna do 4 spotlights tonight, guys. And 4 spotlights because Ross mentioned it. We had an update with the website and some new names just blew up the list. Blew up the list because of some quirks and stuff that were behind the scenes.
That probability factoring makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It does.
It's fixed now. It's fixed now, and we got 2 guys that I want to start with. That it came out of nowhere, didn't know their names, and the first one is going to be They Run Laronzon, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ross, you can go ahead and fix me if you want. They run
Laronzo, just with an O at the end, but yeah, that's
Laronzo. Yes.
Yeah.
And Laronzo is a catcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's with the single A. Yeah, another Dodger, and I love it. The Dodgers got magic touch, man.
They do.
Single A affiliate with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Catcher, 6'3", 195 pounds. He's 20 years old. His career, let's go career first, and then we'll dive into what he did this year. 542 at bats, 140 hits, 258 average, on base percentage 377, OPS of 890, 31 home runs, 5 stolen bases. The majority of all this that I just said happened this year. So this year, what happened was 326 at bats, average of 270, on base percentage of 390, slugged 558, OPS of 948. So 22 home runs, 2 stolen bases, which is it. Like, that's okay. I'll take two stolen bases here and there. Two 3-baggers and 24 doubles. His strikeouts to walks are a little out of control. 106 strikeouts, 61 walks. That's okay. This guy interests the crap out of me. And I did pull him up on STS, Scout the Statline, and his comp was, where'd he go? Luke Voigt. I don't love the comp. Okay. I don't love the comp, but I understand the comp. Because Voigt had power for days, right?
He did. Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about right here is power for days.
So he is probably one of the top power hitters in the minors, according to our projections. So really notable power. In fact, he grades out with 75 power. That's really the calling card. That's what this is all about. A lot of on-base capabilities too, and that's really driving like his WRC plus and stuff. That's a big part of his ranking. So I don't want to undersell that. You're right, he does strike out a little bit too much, but he's walking a lot too. So he's seeing a lot of pitches. I mean, you said the walk to strikeout ratio was out of control. I think the strikeout rate
a little bit
high, but I think the ratio is pretty good. He walks a lot.
Yeah.
And I think he hits bombs, that's what you want. Yep. You got to wonder if he's a catcher long term. He's big, maybe a first baseman. I don't know. But if he sticks at catcher, I know I have ranked him above like Diego Cartaya. So they got another guy up and coming that could fill that role.
I have somebody ahead of both of them in the Dodger system.
Who are you referring to?
Jesus Galiz, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of him. We'll have to talk about him at a later date.
Okay. Did we highlight him over the off season?
I thought I did. I did in some articles, but I don't think we ever mentioned him in a podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm putting him. I mean, I've got him higher than Galiz. I've got him higher than Cartaya, who's seems like he's kind of fallen off, for a guy that was a top international. And then you got this guy who seems relatively unknown, but he's really making a name for himself for sure. He's 20 years old now. This is his age 19 season, according to the cutoff time, whenever that is. So he's a very young 20-year-old now, but super interesting player.
Yeah.
You got to take a chance on him. I'm not saying he's like going to be a guy to build around. I'm not going that far, but I think he's got a lot of power and he could be a difference maker.
We're going to see some AA numbers next year, and that'll be super exciting.
Yeah.
Super exciting. That's when my engines really start going, boys and girls.
You love yourself some AA.
Man, AA. All right. Let's jump to the next one. We have another Dodger. At least I didn't give you guys all speed this week, right? I was on this kick of speed for forever.
Was this intentional? Was this the Dodgers podcast?
No, it really wasn't. We just have another Dodger, and this is a shortstop in the Dodger system. He's in the rookie affiliate. He's 6 foot, 179 pounds. He's only 18 years old, and it's Geral Perez. And Gerald Perez, his numbers this year, he is with the single A affiliate. I apologize. Let's dive into his overall minors career. His overall minors career is 376 at bats. He's got 100 hits, 266 average, 382 on base, slugged 492, OPS of 874, 19 home runs, 14 stolen bases. It's all really decent, but decent can explode into something very nice. Like I said, he's only 18 years old. I don't know what kind of a 18-year-old. He'll be 19 in November. The early parts of November, he'll be 19, but he's already in single A and he's holding his own.
Yeah. This is a age level deal for sure. And he's popping on Scout the Stat Lines leaderboard, getting a comp to Rice Hoskins, by the way. And this
odd comp.
It's an interesting one, but if you look at the peak projections, it kind of makes sense to me. And if you just look at his numbers in general, he is similar to Lorenzo. This guy's all about power and on-base potential. That's his calling card. I mean, almost to a T. It's like we're talking about the same guy, except for Perez is a year younger. He's doing it a year younger. So he's hitting for a lot of power, even though, like, you look at it right now and you see 11 home runs, you're like, that's not that many home runs.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 18 years old. He's a young kid doing this in single A now. That's pretty impressive. He's projecting for 37 home runs at peak per 600 appearances.
We're talking about a shortstop right now too.
Yeah. So, well, he kind of plays all over. He's some second base, some third base. I mean, he's just infield utility right now. So we'll see where he ends up. Could be third base. I mean, he seems like a guy hitting for the kind of power that he is. He might fill out and they'll push him over to third base or something like that. So we'll see with him, but lots of power, walking at a very healthy rate, actually striking out less than Lorenzo, which is promising. Really interesting player. I'm not going to give a full endorsement of a go get, but I did tweet about this guy just a couple days ago, and I said, this is somebody that I'm watching. Because one thing I do know is Scout the Stat Line is great about bubbling these guys up, and this is the type of profile you could see a huge breakout from next season.
Yeah. And we're going to see. So he's going to start out early next year in A-ball with, I mean, a realistic shot if he turns it on at 19 years old, double A. And that excites me. Anytime you're 19 years old and you can reach double A, they see it, and then the numbers always tell that we can see it.
Yeah, I think for him, we'll probably see him starting in single A next year. He only has 27 plate appearances there right now.
Yeah.
And I don't even really need to go through his 2023 numbers because they're pretty similar to the career numbers that you read. Yeah. I think he's improved a little bit with his plate discipline. He's walking a little bit more than he did before. So I think that's promising. He's trending the right direction. He's still hitting for power. No home runs yet at single A, but again, it's only 27 plate appearances. Nothing to worry about. I think he starts there next year.
Yep.
And yeah, if he's hitting really well, could see an earlier promotion to high A, and then it's possible we see him in double A by the second half of next year. It's possible. Awesome. He's got to be really swatting the ball, but this is the type of guy that we're saying it could happen with. So keep your eye on Gerald Perez.
Agreed, my friend. Next guy that I want to spotlight. This is somebody that we kind of teased a little bit. We teased in a couple other podcasts, and we just never did quite get to him. And that is going to be Emmanuel Tejeda. Emmanuel Tejeda is 18 years old. He's 5'11", 158 pounds, with the New York Yankees. And so he's got some DSL stats. He has 142 at bats in the DSL. I'm gonna go ahead and skip those guys and let's just jump into this complex league with the Yankees. And it's 166 at bats, 51 hits, average 307, on base 465, slugged 458, on base plus slugging 923, 5 home runs, 3 triples, 4 doubles, 24 stolen bases. Walks to strikeout is 1-1, 44 and 44. Emmanuel Tejada really, really excites me. And I am one of those guys that will find a player that's affiliated with a team that I will not take players on. Yankees, because I hate them. But I'm going to make an exception here. There's something in this profile that I look at, and I'm in love with this one. I don't know why. It screams at me, go get him.
Yeah, it's a very enticing profile. I agree. I mean, we're looking at somebody that the on base stuff is kind of off the charts. He's getting on base. That's like his calling card. 18, not an old 18, just like 18. Yeah. He's a solid 18-year-old. He's hitting for decent enough power.
Yep.
He's stealing a lot of bases. This is a guy that can do a little bit of both for you while getting on base at a very high clip, and probably can hit for pretty decent average. He's got great contact skills. It's obvious. So I'm with you. I'm very interested in him. He's projecting for 17 home runs and 24 stolen bases at peak. That's notable. Yeah, I'm into it.
Who's his comp?
His comp is Bobby Bonds. You know, we actually got a Barry Bonds comp recently. I don't want to go into that in too many details. The sample size was pretty small, so it's probably not going to stick. But I was shocked. I thought we would never get Barry Bonds as a comp. So that was pretty incredible. But yeah, Bobby Bonds, Barry's dad, who struck out a lot more, didn't walk as much as Barry, didn't hit as many home runs, but he was still a very versatile talent in the same vein that Barry is or was, in that he hit bombs and he stole a lot of bases in his career. He was a talented guy.
I challenge everybody that's listening to this, or anybody that, can catch wind of this, to dive massively deep into Tejada. I don't know. This screams number one prospect in 3 years, 2 years.
I mean, there's a long ways to go. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I gotta see him above the rookie level, but it's certainly promising. I mean, you got a guy like a Wander Franco. I know he's probably even faux pas to mention his name right now, but his numbers at the rookie level were unbelievable when he was 17. That's kind of unmistakable. Here it's like, these are very good numbers. I don't know about number one. Like, I didn't have any questions about that with Franco, but I do have some questions here about him. I don't know. We'll see. It's possible, but he's got a ways to go, in my opinion.
This one's, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a hunch. It's a gut feeling. Sometimes you got to follow those gut feelings. He's a go get him for me. He is an absolute go get him.
I absolutely agree. He's a go get him for me too. I think this is somebody that you want to roster if you're in a semi decently deep league, that is. I mean, if he's owned, you should target him, see if you can get him for lower prices. He doesn't have a lot of clout around his name right now, so I think he's somebody I'd be looking to acquire for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one, and I'm gonna let Ross introduce this one. He's a bopper, man. He's a bopper,
Yeah. Okay. So
and I know you like him.
I do. I think, okay, I'll just get into the introduction so then I can talk about him. I can't believe we haven't talked about this guy all year, by the way. This is Abby Malek Ortiz. Abby Malek Ortiz. And he is a masher. He's just a straight up masher. And I think this guy, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think he's got some of the best power in the minor leagues, if not the best. I mean, he's got like Melendez out there that he's competing with and some other guys. So I'm not going to, make a very definitive statement about that, but he has blown up this year.
Yeah.
And I think he's done it somehow kind of under the radar. So I want to highlight his numbers. This is really his breakout season because he's been around for a couple of years. He was in the DSL when he entered the league in 21. And then he was at single A last year as a 20-year-old. Not very inspiring numbers in 331 plate appearances, though he did have some sneaky power hidden there. And this year, it's just a different story. He started again at single A. He's now 21, a little old for the level. Acknowledge that at first, but just tore it up in single A until he was promoted to high A. And then he just like stepped it up a notch. Yeah. So I'll walk through the numbers. Single A, he finished there hitting 307 with 392 OBP and a 604 slugging percentage, 7 home runs, moved up to high A, hit 292 with a 352 OBP. Notable that his OBP dropped a little bit. So, he's got to manage his plate discipline a little bit better as he's moving up, because that's going to be a key. And a 618 slugging percentage, 23 more home runs, 24 because he hit one tonight. He's up to 31 home runs on the season now. And I want to call this out. One of my boys on Twitter, Dukes was my guy. He's been tweeting about this guy a lot this year, and he calls him Abby Bombs.
Abby Bombs.
I'm all for it. Abby Bombs. Tonight there was an Abby Bomb. I love it. So I'm into that, and it's been fun to watch him develop into this great power hitter. Right now, it kind of looks in the vein of like a Christian Encarnacion Strand type of power hitter. I would like to see the plate discipline improve a little bit for him to unlock that true potential, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. And he's a big boy too. He's a big boy.
Yeah. I was going to mention that 6 foot tall, 230 pounds, 21 years old. He's got a body, man.
Yeah.
He's going to body that ball.
And he's pretty much just a true first baseman, DH type of guy. So you're not gonna be seeing him playing all over, unlikely anyway. So something to keep in mind, but he does have the kind of power that I think can make a difference if he can wrangle that plate discipline just a little bit.
I see it all.
But yeah.
Yep.
What do you?
I see it all. No, big bat, strikes out a little bit too much, walks too less, but he's swinging a big bat. That's what he's there for. He's there to crush that gosh darn thing out of the ballpark. But the average is high.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit surprising to me with the strikeout numbers and stuff. It's a good average.
It is.
Curious.
I mean, again, 21 and high A, so I'm not getting super excited about that. I think for me right now, it's just about the power. And we've really been highlighting some boppers tonight. We had Lorenzo projecting for 37 home runs, Perez projecting for 37 home runs at peak. And now we got Ortiz, who they have him a little bit, just slightly lower, projecting for 36 home runs. It's impressive power. And I would say out of those three, I think this guy has the most power. So,
okay. He's got an interesting comp, Mitch Garver.
Yeah. Don't love it.
Yeah.
but it's not a bad comp, and Garver's had some pretty good seasons too. So,
Man, I love the comps. It's my favorite part.
Well, good, because
Yeah.
it was a pain to build.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, that's what I have for you guys tonight. Do you have any sneakers that you want to sneak in there, man?
I don't, not off the top of my head. I think it's been a really exciting season. Pretty soon, the minor league season's going to wind down, so we're
Yeah.
going to end up having to talk about major leaguers. Oh man. But we can cover, we're going to be covering some nice pennant races and playoffs, man.
Yeah, and I wanted to start talking about some call ups and stuff, but I think we're gonna have to save that for next week because we're gonna have an influx of call ups. I think probably this weekend,
Yep.
and then we can cover that, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. PCA better be in there, baby.
I'm hoping so too. I think
I want PC.
you got who else are you expect? Kobe Mayo maybe.
I stated it in the last podcast. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I said 60-40. Yes.
There's Lawler potentially.
Lawler's a no for me.
I would think not. I mean, Carter's kind of on the cusp there. I don't think he's going to get the call either.
Yeah.
Maybe though. Maybe they give him some exposure. You've got
there's a lot.
Yeah, there's somebody big that I'm missing. I feel like there's what about like Caminero? Is there any chance? I'd say probably not, but
I think they have 3 or 4 prospects that they could call up before him. I think.
Yeah,
if that makes any that.
Yep.
But with that, guys, I appreciate you stopping by. If you ever need anything, shout out to this guy or this guy. Take care, guys.